All opinions are those of the participants making them and are not an endorsement of any position, program, religion, or political affiliation. DFG's Corner is for information, observation, and entertainment. I ask that you comment, like, share, and subscribe. All opinions are those of the participants making them and are not an endorsement of any position, program, religion, or political affiliation. DFG's Corner is for information, observations, and entertainment. I ask that you like, share, comment, and subscribe. All opinions are those of the participants making them and are not an endorsement of any position, program, religion, or political affiliation. DFG's Corner is for information, observation, and entertainment. I ask that you comment, like, share, and subscribe. DFG's Corner is for information, observation, and entertainment. Hey, everybody. This is DFG, the man with the not so golden voice today, but I'm still a lady's choice, and I'm always smooth as a Rolls Royce. Give me a second. Got to be smarter than the equipment. There we go. Now it's time to start the show. This is DFG again, and tonight we're going to talk about something that um, is kind of sad, but also kind of we're going to discuss it. Is it a where to next? Um, if you haven't heard today, by June 30th, the Department of Labor is going to close all the Job Corps centers across the country. Job Corps was started in 1964, and what it does is it takes disadvantaged youth, mainly those of color right now, but disadvantaged youth that are not doing well in society. They bring them in, they teach them a skill, they get their general equivalency, and then they send them out. The idea was to send them out, better than when they got there. Um, I'm going to read this article quick, but before I do that, I want to talk about my favorite girl, a chocolate pearl. Come on, Pearl, let me know what you up with.
Hey, everybody. Sorry I missed y'all last week, but it's a relaxation day. Uh, Thank you for tuning in. This is Chocolate Pearl from Duval and ready to get this topic because it's very interesting. And I'm glad you did your research since I did a little bit of mine too. I was
And
trying
you,
to get my kids to come on, but they won't come
yeah,
on.
yeah, I wanted Justin to come on so he
Yeah,
can talk about his experience. But
yeah, tried to, but he's not responding. So
exactly. So yeah, I know. But also I want to shout out to my usual favorite crowd, my my boy DJ Dabs from the 206, living in the 904 right now. I want to thank a special lady. Her name is Kim. Miss Kim, she's always got my back when I need it. And we got the resident thespian, Miss Summer. We got we got another fan of mine, not fan, but another good person online, Miss Nikki, down there in the 678, the 404. Let showing all everybody some love tonight. And usually Miss Dream comes on, and she's from DC doing her thing. Now, the title of this article is U.S. Department of Labor pauses Job Corps Center operations. Washington. The U.S. Department of Labor today announced that it will begin a phased pause in operations at contractor operated Job Corps centers nationwide, initiating orderly transition of students, staff, and local communities. The decision follows an internal review of the program's outcome and structure and will be carried out in accordance with available funding, the statutory framework established under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, and congressional notification requirements. The pause of at all contractor operated Job Corps centers will occur by June 30th. As transition begins, the department is collaborating with state and local workforce partners to assist current students in advancing their training and connecting them with education and employment opportunities. The department's decision aligns with the president's FY 2026 budget proposal and reflects the administration's commitment to ensure federal workforce investments deliver meaningful results for both students and taxpayers. Job Corps was created to help young adults build a pathway to a better life through education, training, and community, said Secretary Lori Chavez Durema. However, startling number of serious incident reports and our in-depth fiscal analysis
revealed the program is no longer achieving the intended outcomes that the students deserve. We remain committed to ensuring all participants are supported through this transition and connected with the resources they need to succeed as we evaluate the program's possibilities. The Job Corps program has faced significant financial challenges under its current operating structure. In FY 2024, the program operated at a $140 million deficit, requiring the Biden administration to implement a pause in center operations to complete the program year. The deficit this year is projected to reach $213 million in FY 25. On April 25th, 2025, the Department's Employment and Training Administration released the first ever Job Corps Transparency Report, which analyzed the financial performance and operational costs of most recently available metrics of program year 2023. A summary of the overall findings. Average graduation rate, 38.6. Average cost per student per year, $80,284. Average total cost per graduate, $155,600. Post-separation participants earn an average of $16,695. The total of serious incident reports for the program year 2023, 14,913 infractions. Inappropriate sexual behavior and sexual assaults reported, 372. Acts of violence reported, 1,764. Breaches of safety or security, 1,167. Reported drug use, 2,702. And total hospital visits, 1,808. Now, those are not great numbers. And on the surface, it seems like the current administration is doing things to cut off opportunities for young people, especially melanated people, opportunities to get a second chance and start over. However, if you look at it from a fiscal standpoint, what they're investing $155,000 and pushing out $16,000, that's a bad investment. So I'm kind of torn. Chocolate Pearl?
I just wanted to say something. Are those numbers just which quarter or which year or the duration of the whole entire program?
It was a program year. The latest metrics they used was program year 2023.
And it's because of the stats of how many sexual whatever and violence and all that other stuff. That's not, you got 99 centers throughout the United States. And those are all in different parts of the world. It's not, they making it sound like it's all in the same place.
No, they were just giving an overall report. And I understand what you're saying, that the number in relation to the amount of throughput is minuscule. It's probably less than 5%.
But they make it because they put it all together, saying the combine of these 99 centers, this is the average of it. But it could be some center now. If they need to evaluate each center individually, because it could be like, for instance, I'm here in Jacksonville. Jacksonville is one of the highest crime cities. That one I will evaluate and say, okay, is this one of the ones? Because it could be the fact that it's not. It could be the lowest out of all of them. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And
yes.
So it's just they made it seem like Job Corps is just one location and this is it. No, you got 99 locations. This could be some in Colorado and nothing, no crime has ever happened. But you can go all the way down to Miami and then there's stuff in Miami. You got to think about Arizona. New York is probably a high crime because you would think it is because of the popularity, or not the popular, the what's the word I'm looking for?
Proximity.
The demographics of that state. To me, they should not combine all that data as one. They making it seem like, because I know when I read that he letting this go because the Department of Education, because this is under the Department of Education and the Department of Labor. And well, if it's not under education, it's under labor, but it should be under both because they both do, the same thing because they have to help them get their GED as well. But it's the fact that they think it's fraud and a waste of, well, what's the word they use?
Fiscal.
These departments as a waste and fraud. How is it a
Yes.
waste of fraud? I know a lot of people who have been in these programs. My son is one of them. He went and sought out a different skill. He wanted to become a plumber at one point. He's now an architect. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
they're very much so. It is. I mean, the program has benefits. There's no doubt about that. Now, I'm just and I agree with you that they're making it sound worse than it actually is. However, on a purely fiscal basis, purely looking at how much they put in and how much they getting out of it, it's not a winning formula. The graduation rates are too low. The outcomes are not where they think they should be, and that's another story. One of the things, and this is my opinion and not the opinion of the station or the show, my opinion is that they contracted all that stuff out because all those centers are run by contractors and not run by government employees. So,
Right.
so one, a lot of government contractors do overcharge, and they don't always deliver the services needed because either way they're gonna still get their money, and
That's
there's
what I'm
no real
saying. And they
government
needed to,
oversight.
that's why I said they needed to evaluate. Don't just go in there and say, give me the numbers, put them all together. Okay, that's a waste. No, you need to go in and evaluate these different locations because the location that my son went to was in South Carolina, Bamberg, South Carolina. It's a rural area. It's nothing to do. And
Yeah,
Job
but you
Corps was
know,
there and to help. You know what I'm saying? It's just I think that they need to evaluate each area before they decide to just cut it off.
and I think that's what they're doing. They're gonna go back and evaluate and close those underperforming centers and probably rebrand it and give it a new charter to come up with get better metrics. Because I agree with. We're not arguing. We're discussing. I
Yeah.
agree with you, but the way, like I said, too much money is being thrown down the drain and the taxpayers are getting ripped off, in my opinion. Not to say that it's not every person that goes through there wants to do something, but the way it's set up now, it's not fiscally sound. Now,
And I understand what you're saying, and I'm definitely not arguing with you, but because that is your opinion. But my thing is this: look at welfare, look at food stamps, look at the taxpayers' money going towards that stuff. Not saying I want you to lower it, but they was thinking about lowering, the food stamps because there's, people who are taking advantage of. You need to evaluate this stuff. You
right.
need to, instead of just saying, okay, let's just cut it because we see that it's a big waste. You need to evaluate that. You need to take the time and have trained people to go out to these different places. I don't like the fact that my taxpayers' dollars goes out to people who keep constantly having children just so they can get free rent or so they can get free food. You know what I
That's
mean?
getting cut off. Section 8 is getting cut down a lot too.
Yeah,
That's a whole nother show. That's a
I
whole
know that.
nother show.
I'm just saying is the fact that I thought, to me, Job Corps, if they had structured it right instead of outsourcing and teaching the people within, or teaching, your teach the people to train these people instead of outsourcing, it'd possibly be cheaper.
I
Because, like you
agree. And
said, when they contract other people to come in to do the job, they're gonna charge them what they want to charge them.
yes, and they don't always complete their statement of work. Um, Miss Kim, you've been a job coach in the past. What is your experience working with people from Job Corps when you lived in Statesboro?
I was part of WIOA for 13 years. Before it became WIOA, it was just WIA. And the company was called Job Training Unlimited. And I did have a partnership with Job Corps, Youth Build, and Youth Challenge. I would visit the Job Corps in Brunswick and Albany, and I was listening, talking about the crime. And just for me being in serving those two areas, because I covered the whole South, Albany was the worst compared to Brunswick, and the crime rate was very high. So how they get their numbers, the rector they do their fiscal year just like we do in our jobs, and they compile them. They do compile all of them together to get one, and they don't really say which is better, which is not as good. They do an overall compile numbers. And like you were talking about earlier about the graduation rate based on WIOA. Now things have changed a lot because I started doing it back in 1997, and I left in 2013, probably, yeah. And it was a great program. I sent kids there when they was in trouble, just to get them out of the, out of the area they in to go to Job Corps to get the education. Now the one in Brunswick, they didn't do GEDs. They offered them high school diplomas. So they were able to get the high school diplomas right before I left working with WIOA. And I got to tour. I spent a lot of time down there, and I was actually offered a job there as their career coach, but I turned it down during that time because that was a drive for me from Statesboro to Brunswick. But overall, it is a great program for youth. Some kids do not like the classroom setting. So instead of having all these dropouts out without a high school diploma, we sent them to Job Corps. We sent them to Youth Challenge. So they would get an education and get the tools they needed, also a trade. And when they graduated, they came back to us, and we were able to put them into a job. So that's a little bit of my experience working, with youth. And during that time, the ages was, I think 16 to 24. Yeah.
Yes, it's usually from 16 to 24. Ms. Summer, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it's just, I don't know. I'm just listening to how this program is being taken away because they feel like um the youth are not benefiting from it. And I'm just looking at, first of all, the criteria to be able to be accepted into this program. And I'm looking at one of the things that stick out is no criminal history. You can't show signs of any type of behavioral issues, no drug use, and things of that nature. So pretty much this is like, um, what I'm trying to
Well,
say
some are,
is,
not to mean to cut you off, that's
no,
not
no, no.
really set in stone,
Okay.
because those that I worked with, they were troubled youth. But before law got into it and they were like sent off, I got them enrolled in Job Corps. And they say those things, but sometimes when they would go home, they will come back sometime with drugs. So I'm not gonna say none of them ever was using drugs, because that's not true.
And that's well
Okay.
put. That's well put, ladies. You know, and that's the thing is that, you know, some people are not going to do right. But those are few, in my opinion, those are few and far between.
Right.
Those who want to do right will do right. Those who try to do right sometimes get led astray by those who don't want to do right. But you can't throw out the whole baby with the bathwater. And
Exactly.
going back to what Chocolate Pearl was saying, and this is what I think. I'm not going to say that this is what they want. Um, it's a way to save money. However, they gotta do it smartly to get the maximum benefit for each student. If they gotta let fewer people in, that might be the thing. If they let fewer people in, they have fewer places to go. That might help. But the way the program is being run right now, it's not. It doesn't fiscally make sense. And we could talk about we like I said, everybody's point is valid. But the thing is, though, from a strictly money point of view, it's not a good investment. And I don't know how to fix that. I don't have enough wherewithal in that system to be able to give you a comprehensive, this is what's going to work, because that's not my area of expertise. Go ahead, Miss Kim. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just gonna say, from way back when and now, comparing the youth of today, they're totally different. And back then, the parents, a lot of the parents made sure the kids went. The kids just totally were different. Now, kids are so much, I, I, I don't even know the word to put it, that now it's like they don't listen, and they make it hard for others, especially when you're in that type of structured environment, because you live there and they give you pass to go home for holidays and stuff like that. And I've been out of it for a while, but just thinking out of the box, I could just see a lot of the youth that do get the opportunity to go, and when they leave, they don't come back. So you're losing money because they don't return back like it's supposed to.
I agree, and I think that
See, that's when
we're
they supposed to find a way to where if the child or the student doesn't come back, that there's a penalty towards them. That is a contract with
but
them and the
most of them are
parent.
voluntary. I'm saying, well, most of the youth that go, now there are some that are sent there by Johnny Law, but most of them are there voluntarily. So
But my
you
thing is this, even if it's voluntarily, it still should be some stipulation. It should be some type of penalty. Even though you're volunteering, it's still, just like in college, you have a certain amount of time to where it won't affect you. You know what I mean? So
yes,
if you pass a certain amount of weeks or a month and you don't like it, you have a chance to get out without us wasting money. You know what I mean? But if you stay in there longer and then after you pass that deadline and then later on you decide you don't want to do it because you just don't feel like doing it, because that's a lot of times. Because if you went past a certain weeks, you could have left before it got really good. You know what I mean? So if there's a penalty like they do in college, you lose your money, even though the government is putting up the money. But it should be some type of penalty saying that if you don't go this, you owe us that money because we put this money up for you because you volunteered, but you decided to voluntarily leave. You need to
Don't
owe
they
us that money
also
because we still got to pay it.
don't they also receive a stipend
free program.
when they're like
Yes, they get for living
Yes.
expense for living. They get a small
Yes.
stipend for living
Johnson-
expenses,
okay.
but they don't get any. They don't. It's not like
It's
they
not
get
a
a
lot of money. So I
yeah
do remember that part. And
yeah.
these youth of today, you know, they'll look at it. They won't be appreciative. They like, this how we get. They're not appreciative like the kids used to be back in the day.
Thing that these kids, I told you before, these kids are made differently. They think the
Right.
world revolves around them. You know, they think that we owe them everything.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why possibly the enrollment dropped because just of the mindset of kids today.
I totally agree with you on that.
Hey,
And that's-
DFG, I think.
Go ahead, Dabs.
Yeah, I was just, I was, my son went to Job Corps, and yeah, there was a little stipend they gave him, but it wasn't a lot of money. But one of the things that when I was looking at or was talking about, and I just doing a little research on it as well, more stuff about who actually runs it. Well, the problem, like I said, is it's all contract work, but not all Job Corps across the country are ran by the same contractor. There might be one contractor who runs 20 of them, might be one contractor who runs 25 of them. So each one of those has, rules and stuff that need to follow, but a lot of them have different rules. So I know like the one my son went to in Washington, it was you're not supposed to have been in any trouble, and most of the kids there weren't in any trouble. Unfortunately, some of them got in trouble when they was there. My knucklehead was one of them. But it's the fact that I think if there was one agency running everything, it might be a little bit better. Right now, I don't have a problem with. I mean, I know it's helpful, but right now, if that's what needs to happen, then it needs to get cleaned up. It needs to get wiped away and cleaned up.
And that's one thing I hate to say this, but you're right, and the administration's right in wanting change. The way they're going about it kind of sucks.
Right.
But I understand that there needs to be a change because it goes back to what Chocolate Pearl was saying, what Kim was saying. Some of these kids, and this is just I'm putting on my tin hat, my conspiracy hat, and saying that some of these people are probably subcontractors to the private prison industry. Think about that. Go ahead, Miss Summer.
I was just going to say a lot of these programs for some of these young people is about survival and being able to make it. And so, even after mom and dad are gone, they have to be able to survive. And so I was just curious to see, do you believe or does the panel believe that once this program is taken away, do you think that there's going to be a rise in military enrollment?
From somebody who's been serving the 40 years, I'm going to say two things: yes and no. Yes, it is, but those are the people who already graduated high school. If they went kind of like my nephew, he had already graduated high school, and he was going to get a skill, but I having to pay for it, except with sweat equity. For those who couldn't get a general equivalency or a high school diploma, I don't think they'll be eligible to get in unless without a bunch of waivers. And the way this administration is going, a lot of those people are not going to be able to get in. I'm just, that's my personal opinion, and sort not a professional opinion, but it's a personal based off my experience.
A lot of these kids are lazy.
Lazy is
So I'm gonna say no.
relative, because your mother used to say I was lazy. Your mother used to say you was lazy.
I was lazy. So she knew what she was talking about.
We weren't lazy. We were reticent. There's a
Oh.
difference.
Yeah, but I just feel like it's designed, like somebody had mentioned before. It's it's kind of like almost like a sink or swim type of environment now. It's a lot of things that are not geared to help society anymore.
Well,
It's
I
almost
agree.
like, yeah, it's almost like I mean, I don't know. They're limiting the resources. So you're either going to be in jail because you're going to try to fight to get food and try to stay alive and to make it or rob or whatever, or you're going to be one of the ones that um try to defend your property and try to, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like it's getting real scary out here. You know what I'm saying? And it's not giving a lot of people that many resources to make it. They are just really limiting everything.
No, I agree. I mean, I agree, and that's kind of um, the underrepresented majority of people who did that, who voted for the current administration, want that, but they only want it for certain people. Go ahead, Miss Kim.
No, I just was gonna say that's why one reason why they have made it harder for kids now to pass the GED. Um, they want these youth to stay in school because like you had to drop out in order to be dropped out in order to go to Job Corps. So they want kids to remain in high school, complete high school, and stop dropping out. That's why one thing um back home they made it harder to pass the GED. It used to be easy to pass. We used to give them waivers just to go take the GED. Is the price of taking it has gone up, and it's harder now to take it and pass.
That's understandable. And I think that's it's a concerted effort to get people to do what they want them to do. Um, Before I go on, I want to our other guest host, one of our other guest hosts is on, Miss Bean. I see you. You look like you just got home. Holla at your boy.
Hey y'all, yes, literally just walked into my house. Forgot today was Tuesday, but I remembered and hopped on in time. And this subject is not dear to my heart, but it is because I tried to get into Job Corps at a time, but my behavior was a problem for them, so they rejected me. So yeah, but I would have went and I probably would have been a chef by now. But as we said last week, I don't like cooking anymore. So yeah, that was a choice, the culinary art. And that was something that I always wanted to get into, especially now because I don't know how to cut complete onions. Onions are a problem for me, but I would have learned that. But I don't know why they're closing it. I still haven't, like, I haven't heard. I just heard little snippets about it, about them actually closing it and what could or might happen to today, to my kids, the kids in my kids my youngest son's age range, the ones that are getting a late start in life, that have just 4 years to continue to get their GED and get a trade before they turn 25. That's what I thought Job Corps was, so you could get your GED and have a trade so you could start out in life properly.
Yes, that is the purpose, to give people who slip through the cracks a chance at a decent life. However, Chocolate Pearl, you weren't on earlier. Chocolate Pearl was lamenting on the fact that our children's age, they're not built the same. they need and this is just me saying this. I'm not gonna put words in Chocolate Pearl's mouth, but um they need more coddling. They need to be led by the
I
hand.
was about to say that they need a
They
lot
need
of
to be,
hand holding, a
but
lot of coddling, a lot of butt patting. You know, it's going to be okay, baby. You could get it. I believe in you, knowing that in the back of your mind, like this fool was make my
Information.
family. Yeah, yeah, like it's.
but
I don't know, but people know their kids deep down.
yes,
Deep
yes, we
down, they
do.
know their kids, and the ones that pretend like their kids are perfect, and their kids are the bullies and stuff like that. They know their kids are horrible people, but then you have these people that you have some people that comes from really really tough home lives that use it, that want to go to job corps so they can get out of that home and become something better. So it's a slippery slope because you do have the ones that go there just to meet girls, or see,
Hmm.
oh, they see free money, but it's not free money. You actually have to work at a trade and go to school in order for you to get that money, and you have to have a certain GPA in those classes, in those courses, in order for you to get all your money. I know that for a fact because I've had quite a few friends that have graduated out of Job Corps, and I have a friend that he was in the street so bad that like you said, the it was either Job Corps or the military. He chose the military, and he's an electrician right now, making a lot of money. And and people don't think like that. It's like back in the day, they'd be like, oh, you gonna wind up being a trash man. Garbage men make a lot of money and benefits.
Yes, they do.
Sure
Yes,
Okay,
they
do.
do.
Sure do.
I
And
have
then
Don
no
Knotts
problem.
used to make a lot of money.
Listen, I was like, I'd rather wash a man that's collecting garbage underwear than a man that's doing have a corporate degree and then making me into his basically unpaid slave. You know,
uh,
because I know
I don't think you'd be a good servant
I
being
really wouldn't. I really wouldn't. But
you
that's
have
not
you have
neither
too
here
much.
nor there.
Yeah, you have too much mouth. But
Yeah,
but that's your fault. That's your father. Um,
Hey,
but
DFG, I got some more numbers to read.
all right, go ahead. Go ahead,
Some,
Dabs.
some shocking information. Just okay, I was just looking up who actually runs each center, and doesn't give you all the information for every center, but there's one, and this is where a lot of the problem lies, and it could be fixed if if it was controlled by uh, one entity versus different bunch of different entities. And we know each job corps gets different money and different amount of money and how much they are spent. So one contractor that runs just the Miami area, is $13 million. The Tulsa contractor was paid $14 million. Now, these are yearly. The Treasure Island brought in $38 million. Center System Development Corporation runs 11 centers in San Diego, Sacramento, and San Jose, California, New Orleans, Louisiana, St. Paul. So these people are all over the place, running all these different corporations, collecting all this different money. And the government can't control it. And that's why it's out of control and it needs to be fixed.
I agree, and I like I said, I think they're subsidiaries of the private prison people. They want to make sure they got a good population. You cut off the source to get them money, and then they go and do their thing, and then they wind up being a guest of the state anyway, and they pay almost the same amount of money. Um, yeah, but I appreciate you doing that, DJ Dabs. That's actually adds a lot to the conversation. And here's the deal. Here's the deal. Just and like I said, it's going on. We understand that the government really doesn't care about poor people, people of color in general. they're saying they're going to do things, but the things that they're doing, what they're saying and what they're doing are two different things. And they're they're trying to condition us to just accept anything. And once we do that, we will be, we'll be Cuba or Hungary in more ways than one. Uh, you know, if you have a skill, you have an ability, find people that want to learn. Because there's some of us that don't want to learn nothing. We survive, we're existing. We're not living, we're not surviving, we're just existing. And we us that have something need to at least offer an opportunity for something better, since the government just throwing up their hands. And like I said, in a perfect world, they would close some centers that are underperforming and concentrate on making the other ones better. However, what DJ Daz was saying, they're different people have different rules. And even though they're supposed to be under the same standard, people run their own. The people in Florida are making $13 million a year for years. How much you think of that $13 million a year they're spending on students? Maybe one. So where's the other 12 million going? That's a question. That's a question we probably need to ask. The people in Tulsa, there's $14 million. How much money you think is going towards the students? Maybe 2 million. Where the other 12 million going? These are the questions that we're not really, we understand, but we really don't want to answer to those questions, because once you know something, you're required to, your conscience will have you act on it. And that's why sometimes, that's why.
I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
was going to say another big thing is is all those numbers they brought out about, which one is doing good, which one is doing bad, people wise, whether Jacksonville has bad people and it's going bad. It really doesn't matter. That fact is not really what they're fighting about. They're just using those numbers to try to, deter other stuff. To try to justify or deter other stuff. The real problem is the big numbers, like I just read. That's the real problem.
I agree.
1,500 kids getting in trouble in Jacksonville, and only 1,200 or 200 getting in trouble in Washington. That it really doesn't matter. I mean, they're still paying too much money for what they're doing.
I agree. And that's the thing, is that they're not looking at it holistically. They're just looking at the product. They're not looking at the process. Why are these people not graduating? Why is there so much, or overall, if you say, for example, there were 1,400 cases of violence. If you have 100 centers, that's less than 100 per center for a year. That's not bad. And that goes back to what Chocolate Pearl was saying, that they aggregate the numbers to make it seem bigger than what it is. However, they gotta, if you just pull it and don't have anything, then it looks bad. So they have to do something to get people to not rebel. And that's how they do it. They overinflate the importance of the numbers of the criminality, and saying that kids are not graduating, but they're not saying why they're not graduating. There's not enough detail that's given out to say, okay, these kids are not graduating because they're not attending class. They're not attending class because they're on drugs, or they're robbing folks, or they're doing something nefarious. We're not getting that level of detail. So we're filling in the blanks. And I think that's what they want us to do. So then we could say, yeah, because we never think of anything good. People as people, we don't think of good stuff for the most part. We always think the worst. So you put out bad statistics, and then you say to yourself, well, it's getting worse. When in reality, it's just normal. And, you know, they're closing everything, but not like going back to what Chocolate Pearl was saying, not every center is bad, but the way they're doing it is they're saying it's all bad. But from a standpoint on how we fix it, like I said, I don't have the in-depth knowledge on the how Job Corps works. I just know that it should work, and it should be an option, because if you're taking away something, what are you replacing it with? And I don't hear anything from the administration saying what they're gonna, if they're totally getting rid of it, how are they gonna replace it? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So,
They're not going to replace it with anything.
They're trying to shut it down so he can justify his budget. So he
yeah,
justifies
but
budget so he can give all that money to the rich.
yeah, but I ask a lot of his supporters. I say, when has trickle down economics ever worked in the United States in the last 40 years? They can't. They can never give me an answer. Because it doesn't. It doesn't. They tried it with Reagan. They tried it with Bush 1. They tried it with Bush 2. They tried it with the guy in office now. I hate to say his name, so that's why I say that. But he is the president. He is the president. The president is a title. So I respect the president. I respect the title. but those things that we do and those things that we say are not always beholden to how things are. And I'm going to implore everybody to do your research. Don't just listen to the news. Go in and look at stuff. If I try to do at least a little bit of research, so I have something what I'm talking about. So I'm not always not flopping around and saying not what I don't know and what I can't say. But I want everybody to understand that this is not a trivial thing. We got 3+ more years of this stuff, and the way it's looking, it's not going to get better unless we demand change. And just an aside, Tulsa, Oklahoma elected the first black mayor in their city's history. Do you know what he's putting forth? Reparations for the Tulsa race massacre.
Yeah, I heard about that.
About a little bit over 100 years ago, and there's one survivor left, and hopefully she can get two. Yeah, they're two. They're in their hundreds. Yeah. But the thing is that the fact that he did that.
He said he's not giving them the money though.
But the thing is that he's making them have to account. Right. He's making them have to account, because you can't say that you give money to a certain nation in the Middle East, a bunch of money, but we're not supposed to say nothing. But black people in this country, they got it, hey, we owed something, because our sweat, our tears, and our blood helped build this country. Right. Our ancestors were strange fruit, but not for being criminal or evil, but just doing things that we weren't supposed to do, or stepping or talk or exerting our rights to citizenship. We're over policed, we're underfunded, we're undereducated, and we're underpaid. The last time that there was something even close to equality was 150 years ago during Reconstruction. Do you know from 1866 to 1912, the Black illiteracy rate went from 96% to about 50% in less than 3 generations. Now, that's, the reason why they started striking back was because they're like, we held them down, and we let them go. We let them go, and look what they're doing. They're passing us. They're taking what's ours, which I can never understand. You can talk about people stealing your land, and you want stolen land yourself.
Okay.
You talking about Mexico, yet you want to take Canada, you want to invade Canada.
Right.
Tell me how that makes sense. Because somebody tell me.
It's no sense to it.
So
How is it that I'm sorry, because I thought Canada and the United States, the upper states were one peninsula, so we're just going to take over more land. They're going to try to take over more land in Canada.
No, they want to annex Canada and make it a state.
They want to erase that magic line.
But it's like, okay, I don't know. Maybe I got my history lessons. Don't they have to go through England for that? Like, no?
Well,
okay.
No, Canada used to be a dominion of the UK, but they're a part of the Commonwealth, but they're their own country.
Okay.
Now, we do have military and trade agreements with Canada, but the president wants to annex Canada and make them
Columbia.
make them a 51st state.
DC?
And so it's kind of hypocritical, but hypocrisy is a feature in the system and it's not a bug. But that's we have to look at it for what it is. A lot of stuff is being pushed behind the magic screen, but we still, he says things on purpose to get us riled up. But what's happening is us melanated folks, especially Black folks, we ain't falling for it. We ain't falling for the okie doke. He's trying to get us to be like 2020 so they could bring out the dogs and so they're doing so,
It only takes us one time to fall on our faces for us to not ever do that, take that step again. So I don't understand why they don't get that. A lot of us, once we see what's the bad about it, we're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna avoid that, and let's find work smarter and not harder type of mentality. I'm trying to be smart about my future and the future for my grandbabies. I don't understand it. It's just weird.
But that's the thing is that, they're not thinking 2 generations ahead. They're thinking of the next. They're trying to get as much money out of us as they can. That's the bottom line. We're at Big Orange.
But we ain't got no money.
It doesn't matter. They taking what we ain't got. And giving it to the people who need it less than we do, a lot less than we do. But that's but that's the importance of voting, because the people that voted for the president expected it only to happen to people like us.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's happening to them. They're like, well, this ain't right. Said, welcome to being Black in America, because that's what you are now. You might not be Black in color, but you Black in the pocket.
They just thought it was going to affect us and not them. But to me, it's affecting more of them than it's affecting us.
Yeah, because we
I said that in a couple of shows way back. We know how to survive off of nothing. They don't.
But those are those things that we cover and we do, and we understand. We're understanding the assignment this time. We didn't really understand it the last time. but we definitely understand this time. What's going on, Big Al? Welcome to the show. You're close to the end, but I'm glad that you made it. Holla at
Oh
your boy.
yeah, yeah. I've been in the executive director's Zoom with my fraternity. We just initiated 10 brothers. Uh, it was a special initiation. Folks in Congress, TV actors, uh, judges, and people in high places. So it was special, but we had a lot of brothers that were pissed because it was very limited in terms of who knew about it and that whole process. So we were just doing some final housekeeping from that, and I had to be in that meeting. But I wanted to at least try to jump in before you all finish.
I appreciate and
Conversation too.
congratulations to the new brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. May they continue to move onward and upward. We were talking today. We were talking about the closing of Job Corps and what's next. What is your opinion on them closing the Job Corps by the end of the month?
I think that's going to be a devastating blow because, as far back as I can remember, the Job Corps provided a lot of people of, especially of color, who needed a little bit of a boost, who needed an opportunity to go and learn a skill that they could use to be able to be productive in the work environment. And it's just another attempt by the person that we have in the White House to do everything that he can to eradicate Black people, to put us in a position where we can no longer sustain the economic power, the economic freedoms that we've developed through government jobs and programs that are just designed to level the playing field. And I just get so upset, and you know as well as I do, having sit on a lot of military promotion boards and selection boards, the affirmative action and all those things, DEI impacts white, female, Asian Americans, and every other ethnicity except Blacks. So that is just another one of those things that we're going to have to tighten up our chin straps and figure out ways that we can help each other get back to that village. It takes a village to raise mentality so that we can do some things to mitigate all the stuff that Orange Man is doing.
And I think you and I being fraternities, I think our youth outreach programs as well as sororities. I think we have the tools and the capability to do things like that. What we were talking about earlier is the numbers that they put out to justify closing, but overall the return on investment was poor. And like I said, this is my opinion, and I'll say it again, it's my opinion, was that it was a lot of contractors without government oversight. So there wasn't an incentive for quality control. So with this reset, I hope that they can, and I know I'm an eternal optimist. I hope that they can at least streamline operations to push out the best products and get these young people jobs, get them jobs where they can make money and have some pride about themselves, because they putting $155,000 into them, and they're only getting out and making 16,000. That's not a good investment. That's definitely not a good investment. But we have come up to the end. We have come up to the end of the hour, and I want to thank everybody out there who contributed in the board, in Facebook land, in YouTube land, in IG land, and TikTok land. I want to thank everybody who came on and this was very informative. I hope you learned something. Understanding what's going on. Before I go, I want to give a shout out. Let my co-host give a little shout out. Go on, Bean.
Okay, you know how I feel.
And doesn't care.
I'm thankful for this program. I'm thankful for the conversations. And I actually do, they do say you learn something every day. And every time I come over and I join, I learn something new, which I appreciate. So like I said before, like, subscribe, share, and I'm out of here. Love y'all. Peace.
Chocolate Pearl.
Well, it
It
was
was
a
a
good,
good,
interesting
interesting
show.
show.
When I first heard about it, we were out with my daughter, and she happened to look down
Her social media and said, "Job call close." I said, "No, that's got to be something from AI or somebody lying." And we did a little bit more research and found out for in fact it was closing, and I was just totally shocked. But and then next thing you know, you said that you wanted to discuss it, so I thought it was a good topic. I am disappointed in the government for this. Um, they need to restructure instead of just cutting it out completely. They shutting it down completely, and I just think they just need to go out there and evaluate individual places, but I'm not going to get into a whole nother conversation with that. But thank you for coming on. Don't forget to, like being said, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And see you back next week, 8:30. Same back channel, same back time.
Yes, yes. I love each and every one of my crew that come on. Thursday, if you ain't got nothing else to do, hit up Upscale Vibes Worldwide, 8:30. Dr. Fab is on vacation, so I might be running things. And you know how I like to do things. I like to do big, I like to make it big. But I'm gonna say my new favorite saying, if you can't laugh at yourself, find somebody else to laugh at. Y'all be good. Have a great day and see y'all next week for DFG's Corner Emporium with Bean, Apple, and my favorite girl, the chocolate.